Imagine a light so bright it erases the sky. Not sunrise, not lightning, something bigger, a pulse from the sun itself. A cosmic flash so powerful it could wipe the slate of civilization clean. It sounds impossible, but evidence whispers that it might have happened before. And if it did, it didn't just burn the world, it reset it. Now, I know what you're thinking. This isn't the cute little sunshine you drew in kindergarten. This is the kind of light that would melt your phone, vaporize your Wi-Fi, and make your dad's old TV slap seem like mercy. So tonight, dim the lights, turn on a fan, for that soft cosmic breeze. Tuck your feet under the blanket, just in case the sun decides to peek in. Because somewhere in the past, our ancestors may have watched the heavens ignite. Would their clay pots explode? Would their shadows stretch across the earth? Would they pray, run, or simply stare as the sky turned to fire? Tonight, we'll find out. Congratulations, you've just woken up 12,000 years ago, in the exact moment the sun decides to hit factory reset. If you like drifting off to strange corners of history, you can subscribe so YouTube knows to bring you back here next time. The first thing you notice is a low, buzzing hum, not like bees, but like the entire sky is considering an existential crisis. The air vibrates gently, like nature's version of a phone on silent mode. You're not panicking yet, just mildly concerned the atmosphere is preparing DLC you didn't sign up for. You stand there for a moment, squinting at the horizon, as if that helps diagnose cosmic problems. The hum seems to move through the air in slow ripples, brushing against your skin like static cling with commitment issues. It's not loud, not painful, just present, too present. The kind of noise you'd normally blame on an appliance that definitely shouldn't be making noises, like your fridge at 3 a.m., or your neighbor's suspiciously determined lawnmower. Except this time, the sound isn't coming from a faulty machine. It's coming from everywhere. You take a few steps outside, half expecting to catch someone shaking a giant cosmic tambourine. But no, the village is quiet. People are emerging slowly from huts and shelters, rubbing their eyes like confused meerkats. Everyone hears it. No one wants to be the first to admit they hear it. And somewhere deep in your chest, a tiny voice whispers, "Ah yes, this feels like the beginning of a documentary that ends badly." The hum deepens, not louder, just heavier, like the sound picked up a gym membership. The air tastes metallic, the way it does right before lightning strikes. Except there's no storm, no clouds, no wind. You're reminded of that awkward moment when your phone vibrates in your pocket, but the phone is actually on the table. That's the vibe. Confusing, mildly concerning, a little embarrassing. You look up again, hoping the sky gives you a clue. Instead, it stares back blankly in a perfect, cloudless dome, glowing a little too evenly. You get the strange sensation the sky is buffering, like it's thinking very hard about something it forgot to announce. Someone nearby whispers, "Is this normal?" Someone else says, "I think the gods are humming." A third person announces confidently, "This means the fish will be extra tasty today." No one knows what they're talking about. As the hum vibrates through your bones, you try to stay calm. Deep breaths, in and out. You remind yourself that panicking won't help. Also, there's nowhere to go. The sky owns 100% of the real estate. The sensation builds, a soft pressure behind your eyes, like you're about to remember something important, but the universe keeps pressing snooze. You touch your forehead out of habit, as if that might help stabilize the atmosphere. It does not. Let's talk about the smell. Because yes, the sky now has one. A faint scent, like warm stone mixed with the inside of a blown-out candle. You inhale carefully, half expecting your nose to spark. It doesn't, but the air feels charged, as if a giant cat has rubbed its entire body across the atmosphere and left it staticky. A few brave souls step further into the open, heads tilted, listening. You join them, because nobody wants to be the person hiding indoors when the sky starts acting suspicious. The hum shifts from a steady drone to a slow, pulsing rhythm, almost like breathing. If you didn't know better, you'd swear the sky itself was alive and slightly annoyed. You swallow hard. Your ears pop. The world feels too quiet except for that single vibrating note that refuses to mind its own business. And then, nothing. The hum stops. Not fades. Stops. Instantly. Rudely. Your shoulders relax by 1 degree. Precisely 1. Because you know exactly what happens in stories when the ominous noise cuts out unexpectedly. Something else begins, and you have a feeling it won't be quieter. You step outside and immediately regret it. The sunrise is wrong. Too bright. Too sharp. Like the sun drank 3 espressos and decided to glow at maximum difficulty. Your eyes squint so hard you develop temporary wrinkles, prehistoric Botox. For a moment, you simply hover in the doorway, blinking at the horizon like someone trying to read subtitles from 2 rooms away. The light isn't just bright, it's aggressive. It has texture. It feels like you could Scoop it up with a ladle. You lift a hand to shield your face, but your fingers cast a shadow so crisp it looks printed. Shadows are not meant to have that kind of self-esteem. The warmth hits next. Not the gentle good morning warmth you're used to, but the kind that feels like the sun is checking your warranty. It radiates through your skin in pinpoint little zaps, like cosmic acupuncture performed by a practitioner who's new and overly enthusiastic. You take a cautious step forward. The ground is already warm, preheated even. Normally it would take the sun hours to get the earth to this temperature, but today it feels like the world overslept and set the atmosphere to broil to make up for lost time. Around you, other early risers begin emerging from huts and shelters, all wearing the same expression, that tight, suspicious squint humans reserve for weird smells, surprise expenses, and unusually energetic celestial bodies. One man raises a hand to greet you, but immediately drops it to massage his temples. "My eyes are sweating," he mutters. You understand exactly what he means. As the sun creeps higher, the light sharpens even more, as if someone turned up the saturation by accident. Colors look too clean, too defined. The sky is the kind of blue graphic designers argue about online. A nearby rock glints so brightly, it temporarily becomes the brightest object in your life. Then come the animals. A few birds attempt their usual morning routine, hopping and chirping like tiny feathery alarm clocks. But even they are confused. One stops mid-song, stares at the sun, and turns around like it just remembered an appointment. A goat refuses to leave the shade. A deer stands in the open for 3 seconds, lifts its head toward the radiance, and immediately retreats with the energy of, "Yeah, no, absolutely not." You try to focus on practical tasks, water, food, anything normal, but everything feels slightly off. Water skins warm unnaturally fast. Shadows shift more dramatically than they should. Even your breath feels different, like the air itself is cooking ever so slightly. Someone suggests maybe this is a good omen. Someone else insists it's a bad omen. A third person, who always has an opinion you did not ask for, announces confidently that this is the annual dawn of rejuvenation, which they definitely invented 5 seconds ago. You find a patch of shade beneath an overhanging rock and crouch there, grateful for the dimness. The moment you're out of direct light, you feel your heartbeat unclench by about 4%. Your shoulders loosen, your eyebrows stop sizzling, but even from the shade, the world looks wrong. The sunlight has a faint shimmer, like heat waves, but sharper, like the air is holding its breath, like the universe is trying to plug in an extension cord it hasn't used in a while. And as you watch the sun climb inch by inch, glowing far too proudly for your comfort, a quiet understanding settles over you. This isn't just a weird sunrise. This is the prologue to something the sun has been planning for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, you're awake for it. You've never missed SPF 50 this badly. You're basically a walking rotisserie chicken at this point. Ancient people had 2 strategies: stand in shade or accept your crispy fate. You choose shade, barely. You press your back against the cool side of a boulder and try to pretend this is cozy and intentional. You are not hiding from the sun, you tell yourself. You are bonding with the rock. The rock, for its part, is disinterested. It tolerates you the way a cat tolerates a toddler, politely, but with quiet regret. Out in the open, people are engaged in their daily morning scramble. Not the usual one where everyone pretends to be productive while actually avoiding chores, but a new dance called trying not to get cooked. A man carrying a basket of dried roots squints upward, frowns, drops the basket, and dives under the nearest tree like someone escaping a debt collector. The sunlight hits your ankles, and you hiss. An actual hiss. The ground radiates heat like a skillet someone forgot to turn off. Even the soil seems to be reconsidering its life choices. You wipe your forehead, and your hand comes away hot enough to fry very small eggs. Let's talk about skincare, or the complete lack of it. Ancient moisturizers included mud, animal fat, and sheer stubbornness. You have none of these available right now, except stubbornness. So you peel a thin layer of shade from your boulder and hope it expands. It does not. You scoot half an inch further into shadow, feeling the sun nip at your heels like an overly affectionate dragon. Nearby, a group of elders debate the situation. They argue loudly about whether the sun has always been this bright, and everyone simply forgot, or if perhaps the sun is entering a new phase, spoken with the same confidence people use when diagnosing car problems they don't understand. One elder insists the gods are testing your resilience, which is not comforting. Another claims this is good for crops, which is suspicious because he does not grow crops. The children notice the brightness too. They're running around with squinted eyes, flapping their hands like the light might go away if they wave hard enough. One kid tries to throw sand at the sun. The sun does not care. Even the animals are struggling. A dog-like creature lies belly up in the shade, panting dramatically. A bird nestles under a bush, wings splayed wide like it's airing itself out. A lizard attempts to bask on a rock, then reconsiders and scuttles off with the urgency of someone who accidentally accidentally touched a hot stove. You try stepping out of your shade for 2 seconds, just 2, to retrieve a water skin. Bad idea. Instant regret. The sun bites the top of your shoulders with laser-like precision. You snatch the water skin and retreat so fast you leave a cartoon dust outline behind. The heat intensifies slowly but steadily, like someone adjusting a cosmic thermostat without adult supervision. The sun isn't just shining, it's auditioning. It wants attention, it wants applause. It is performing a full 1-star show. You begin mentally inventing sunscreen, mashed berries, crushed leaves, wet clay. You imagine rubbing handfuls of mud on your face like a prehistoric spa treatment. Honestly, it might work, or it might turn you into a baked potato. Hard to say. Eventually you settle into the shade and breathe deeply. It's cool here, quiet, almost peaceful, except for the glaring radiation 6 inches away. You close your eyes and try to feel calm. But deep down, you know the truth. This isn't just an unusually bright day. This is the sun sending a memo. And the memo says, brace yourself. Birds stop chirping. A goat freezes mid-chew. Even insects seem to be holding staff meetings. Every creature around you shares one universal look. Huh, that can't be good. You stand very still, because when every animal in a 10-meter radius goes silent at the same time, your survival instincts politely tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, maybe, don't move. The air feels strangely thick, like it's been steamed rather than breathed. Even the leaves stop rustling, as if the entire forest agreed on a temporary ceasefire with the wind. A sparrow sits on a branch nearby, feathers puffed, staring upward as though reconsidering its life choices. A squirrel freezes halfway through climbing a tree, limbs stiff, tail straight, eyes wide in a dramatic pause menu pose. A beetle on the ground lifts its head, as if listening for instructions from an unseen manager. One of the hunters in your group glances around nervously. Why is everything quiet? He whispers. You want to respond, but the silence feels so deliberate that speaking out loud feels rude, like interrupting a very serious conference call. Then the goats start acting weird. Goats have 3 main moods: hungry, dramatic, and aggressively indifferent. But today they express a 4th mood, existential dread. One goat stares straight at the sun, squints, bleats once, and walks backward into a bush like it's trying to uninstall itself from the situation. Another goat takes 2 cautious steps toward you, pauses, and gives you a look that clearly says, fix it. You have no idea how. Above you, a hawk circles once, twice, and then abruptly aborts its flight path and lands on the ground clearly deciding that today is not the day to be airborne. When a creature designed for the sky voluntarily chooses dirt, something is seriously wrong. Even the insects are involved. Ants form tight clusters instead of lines. Buzzing insects hover in place like tiny confused drones, and a cricket jumps directly onto your leg, as if the universe has flipped the script, and now you are the safe place. You suddenly become very aware of your own heartbeat, thumping in your chest like it's trying to send Morse code. The animals sense something you don't, and for once you wish you had even half their intuition. You try to sniff the air meaningfully, but all you get is a noseful of dry dust and regret. Clearly, this is why you are not a fox. Then comes the sound, not a loud one, just a faint, distant crackling, like someone opening a cosmic bag of chips. It echoes through the valley in a slow, unsettling pulse. One pulse, then another. The animals flinch with every beat, and their fear rolls through you like a cold draft. A deer at the edge of the clearing lifts its head, ears twitching wildly. Its whole body vibrates for a moment before it bolts, silently, urgently, without the usual dramatic rustling. The forest watches as it disappears into the trees. A few smaller creatures follow, the way people instinctively follow someone running, even if they don't know why. You swallow a lump in your throat. If nature had a system alert, this would be it. You crouch slightly, scanning the horizon, pretending you know what you're looking for. You don't. But crouching feels proactive. The silence deepens, the light sharpens, the air hums, and all the animals, every bird, bug, and bewildered goat, turn their heads toward the same point on the horizon, which raises one terrifying, undeniable conclusion. Whatever is coming, even the wildlife has decided it's above their pay grade. You attempt to start your morning as if the world isn't about to flambe itself, but the grains won't grind, the fire won't behave, and your water skin tastes like static electricity. The universe has clearly paused your routine. You stare down at the handful of stubborn grains in your grinding bowl, rolling them around like dice you're trying to intimidate. Normally they crunch and crumble with minimal effort. Today they cling to the stone like sugared cereal stuck to a toddler's cheek. You push harder. The grains resist harder. A cosmic power struggle ensues, and you are losing. You sigh loudly, not out of frustration, but because sighing is free and makes you feel briefly productive. You reposition the grinding stone and try again. The grains make a noise that sounds vaguely like no. You accept defeat. Fine. Fire then. Fire is your friend. Fire has always been your friend, except when it isn't, which is often. You place a few sticks together and crouch down, mentally preparing for the world's least glamorous magic trick, rubbing them until your arms fall off. You spark. You blow, you whisper motivational quotes. Usually this works. Today, the ember flares for half a second before fizzling out like it just remembered it had other plans. You sit back on your heels and frown at the fire pit. The fire pit somehow frowns back. Around you, the others attempt their own morning tasks with equal futility. One person tries to tie a simple knot and ends up creating an accidental sculpture. Another attempts to sharpen a tool and instead shaves off part of the sharpening stone. Someone in the distance yells, "Why is the fish glowing?" You pretend not to hear that. You pick up your water skin, hoping hydration will reset your mood. Instead, you take a sip and immediately recoil. It tastes like licking a battery, a warm battery. You smack your lips a few times as if that will unelectrify them. It does not. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. It's fine, you tell yourself. Breakfast is overrated. People skip breakfast all the time. A small voice in your mind mutters, not when the sun is preparing to vaporize civilization, but you politely ignore it. Let's talk about the heat, not the usual sunlight warming your back heat. This is the kind of heat that makes the air wobble, that bends the view of the landscape like the world is a mirage trying to impersonate itself. You hold your hand out in front of you. The outline wavers like you're witnessing your own spirit trying to leave your body. Even the food behaves strangely. A piece of dried meat you brought out to soften warms instantly, too instantly, becoming floppy in a way that suggests it may already be halfway cooked. A few berries shrivel just from being outside your pouch, and your bowl, your poor wooden bowl, begins to emit a soft, cracking noise, as if it's considering spontaneous retirement. A thin layer of sweat forms on your forehead, even though you've done nothing. It's the kind of sweat that says, I am here for your protection, but also, I cannot protect you from this. You attempt one more time to grind your grains, not because you think it will work, but because giving up feels too symbolic. The grinding stone slips, rolls out of your hands, and bounces away with an echo that sounds suspiciously judgmental. You sit back and accept your fate. Breakfast is cancelled. The sun has decided today is a menu-free day, and as you gather your failed ingredients and retreat into the shade, you realize something quietly terrifying. If breakfast won't cooperate, the rest of the day definitely won't either. Gathered hunters squint at the sky like amateur meteorologists. One guy insists it's normal, another swears it means doom, a third claims it's the gods doing special effects. Consensus? Zero. You join the group because, frankly, if everyone is staring at the sky with that particular blend of fear and confusion, you want to be part of the conversation. The hunters stand shoulder to shoulder, shading their eyes with their hands, their brows furrowed so tightly it looks like everyone aged 10 years in 10 seconds. No one knows what they're looking for. They just know they should be looking. One hunter points upward dramatically. See? The light flickers. Another scoffs. That's just the sun stretching. A third shakes his head slowly, gravely, as if he alone understands the universe. No, he says, that's definitely divine mood lighting. The truth? You have no idea what's happening, but you nod thoughtfully anyway, because nodding is a survival skill in situations like this. You pretend to analyze the sky with the seriousness of a confused weather reporter trying to interpret a green screen for the first time. The horizon vibrates faintly, shimmering like heat rising off a desert road. It's the sort of visual effect that would make sense in a sci-fi movie, but feels deeply unfair in real life. You blink once, twice, still shimmering. You can't decide whether it's atmospheric interference or if your eyeballs are simply quitting. Behind you, an elder clears his throat loud enough to gather attention. Everyone turns to him with the hopeful look of students before a test, praying the teacher has answers. He lifts his arms in a grand gesture. This, he announces, is clearly a sign. The crowd murmurs. You lean in. Of what? Someone asks. The elder pauses, hand still raised, dramatic timing impeccable, then admits, I don't know, but definitely a sign. You deflate slightly. The debate continues with the intensity of a prehistoric town hall meeting. Hunters argue about wind patterns, star positions, bird behavior, and the emotional tone of the sunrise. Someone claims the sun is definitely angry. Another argues it's just excited. A third mutters that the sun has been off its rocker since winter. Meanwhile, you stare at the sky yourself, trying to tap into your inner intuition. Ancient, primal, powerful. You feel nothing except mild panic and a desire for breakfast, which is unfortunate because breakfast was cancelled by the universe 15 minutes ago. The air crackles faintly, a soft static fizz that lifts the tiny hairs on your arms. You rub them down quickly because the last thing you need is your limbs mimicking cosmic antennae. The sky brightens again, subtly but definitely. Everyone gasps in unison like an audience watching a jump scare in a play they pretended not to be nervous about. One hunter steps forward. "It means storms," he says confidently. Another shakes his head. "No, it means fire." The dramatic guy raises a finger. "It means destiny. You do not have the energy for destiny before noon." Eventually, the arguments fall into repeating loops. Hunters discuss the same theories with slightly different hand gestures. Someone suggests drawing symbols in the dirt to track sky changes. Someone else starts outlining a proto-calendar. A third man begins chanting softly, possibly to appease the heavens, possibly because chanting makes him feel important. You watch all this unfold and slowly realize something profound. Even in the face of unknown cosmic danger, humans will still argue, guess, shrug, and pretend they understand. It's oddly comforting, at least until you notice the sky pulsing again, brighter this time, louder somehow, like the sun is clearing its throat before making an announcement. And suddenly, every hunter goes quiet, every head tilts, every pair of eyes widens. For the first time all morning, everyone agrees on something that is definitely not normal. Your shadow stretches unusually long, like it's trying to escape the whole situation. It flickers strangely. You pretend not to notice. Denial is free. You take a cautious step to the left. Your shadow takes a dramatic step to the right, stretching out like an over-enthusiastic dancer who didn't get the memo. You blink slowly. The shadow does not care. It continues extending across the ground in a long, wobbly smear of darkness that looks like it's trying to make a run for the horizon. You shift again. Your shadow hesitates, actually hesitates, as though deciding whether it wants to continue being your shadow or pursue a solo career. You rub your eyes, hoping to reset reality. When you open them, the shadow gives a little flicker. Not a normal flicker, more like a glitch. Yes, your shadow is glitching. You tell yourself it's fine. Shadows are allowed to behave strangely during cosmic chaos. Shadows have feelings too, but as you raise your hand experimentally, the shadow raises its hand a heartbeat too late, like it overslept. The delay is subtle but unmistakable. Your brain files an official complaint. Around you, others begin noticing the same thing. A woman gasps and jumps backward as her shadow wriggles like a loose thread. A hunter yelps when his shadow splits briefly into two, then merges again with the grace of a confused amoeba. A child starts giggling uncontrollably as their shadow waves at them. No one else finds this funny. You decide to investigate like a responsible adult, which means you poke your shadow with a stick. The stick casts its own shadow, which behaves perfectly. Your own shadow, however, ripples like disturbed water. You immediately stop poking. Let's talk about the light causing all this. It's too bright, too directional. The sun seems to be shining from multiple angles at once, which is rude. Shadows stretch in ways that defy geometry. You feel as though the universe forgot how light works and is improvising. When you step slightly closer to the sunlit path, your shadow lengthens so rapidly you swear you can hear it stretching, like a rubber band pulled past its limit. You retreat instantly. The shadow snaps back, quivering. You pat your chest. Your heart is doing percussion practice. Several people gather near a hut to compare their shadows like early scientists. They stand in a row. Their shadows writhe in different directions, none agreeing on a single orientation. One shadow slowly crawls away as if trying to sneak off undetected. The group watches it with horror. An elder clears his throat, preparing a wise explanation. "Ah," he says, stroking his beard, "your shadows are revealing your true nature." Everyone looks down. One man's shadow wiggles back at him aggressively. Another's droops like a wilted plant. You take a step back, because you don't want to know what yours might reveal. Then the wind picks up, only softly, barely there. But the shadows respond, like the breeze is a whip cracking above them. They ripple violently, while the physical world remains still. A leaf doesn't move. A blade of grass stays frozen. Only the shadows tremble. You stare at your own again. It jitters nervously. Honestly, same. The light intensifies briefly, and your shadow stretches so thin it nearly disappears. For a moment you wonder if losing your shadow would feel like losing a piece of your soul, or like canceling a subscription you weren't using. Hard to say. Then, just as abruptly, the light softens, shadows shorten, colors return to normal. Everything stills. Your shadow resumes its regular shape, hugs your feet obediently, and pretends nothing happened. You nod slowly. It's fine. Everything is fine. Except you now know, with absolute certainty, your shadow definitely knows something you don't. Static builds in your hair until you look like a startled porcupine. Touch anything, and you shock yourself. Touch someone else, and you shock both of you. This is cosmic slapstick at its finest. You run your fingers through your hair, hoping to smooth it down, but it only makes things worse. Your hair rises defiantly, strand by strand, puffing outward until you look like you just lost a fight with a weather balloon. Every motion generates another tiny snap. You wince. Your hair winces. Everything is wince. The air itself feels charged, buzzing softly, like the world is wrapped in invisible wool socks. You take a slow step toward the water bowl near your feet. You intend to drink. The water intends to electrocute you socially. The moment you reach toward it, a spark leaps from your fingertips to the surface with a tiny zap, as if the universe just booped you. Behind you, someone yelps. You turn to see a hunter clutching his elbow, looking deeply betrayed by a clay pot he accidentally touched. The pot, for its part, did nothing wrong, and is tired of being blamed. Around the village, everyone is dealing with their own electrical tragedies. A woman attempts to pet her dog, only to shock it so badly that it sprints into the grass with the offended dignity of an aristocrat. Two children keep touching hands on purpose, sparking wildly and then cackling like tiny gremlins. An older man sits quietly in his hut, hair floating upward like he's slowly ascending to the spirit realm. You try grounding yourself by placing a hand on a tree. Bad idea. The tree reacts. You feel a jolt shoot up your arm, your teeth vibrate, and your shoulder twitches involuntarily. You yank your hand back. The tree now holds quiet resentment. Let's talk about the sensation of your hair hurting. Something you didn't know was anatomically possible. It's not pain exactly, more like every follicle is individually participating in a surprise electricity festival. Your scalp tingles, prickles, pulses. You run your hand along the side of your head and immediately regret it as a lightning-quick spark jumps to your knuckles. You try brushing your hair away from your face, but it clings to your hand like a needy pet, attracted to the static. You peel it off slowly and cautiously, like removing a sticker that really doesn't want to be removed. The elders gather again, because of course they do, and begin diagnosing the situation with the confidence of people who have never been correct once in their lives. One insists the air spirits are angry. Another declares that you must have slept improperly. A third suggests sacrificing a carrot to appease the hair gods. You quietly hope he's joking. He is not. A gust of wind passes through the clearing. Instead of cooling you, it makes your hair expand like a puffball. Your silhouette now resembles a dandelion, a stylish dandelion, but still. Then comes the real test, interacting with another human. A friend walks toward you cautiously. You both raise your hands, slowly, delicately, as if reenacting the creation scene from a Renaissance painting. Your fingers get within 3 inches of touching when snap, a spark leaps between you, bright and dramatic. You both recoil. You both say, ow. You both pretend it didn't hurt as much as it did. The friend stares at you. Is this normal? You shake your head. No. Your hair bounces with the motion, releasing another small crackle. Even the animals give you space. A normally affectionate goat walks toward you, stops mid-step, sniffs the air, senses danger, and reverses like a carriage being backed into a garage. Eventually, you find a spot under a low stone ledge and crouch there, hoping the charge will fade. It doesn't, but the shade at least hides your electric disco ball aesthetic. You exhale slowly. Your hair hums softly, a concerning development. And as one final crackle pops at the edge of your scalp, you realize something important. When your hair is experiencing cosmic interference, the universe is definitely preparing something bigger. Village elders gather, stroking beards, nodding solemnly, inventing explanations on the spot like ancient TED Talk speakers. Not one of them has a clue. You watch them form a loose circle in the center of the clearing, their robes flowing dramatically in the morning light. They look like they're about to announce a solution to all cosmic mysteries. They are not. They are absolutely winging it. One elder taps his staff on the ground 3 times, for no reason other than it makes him feel authoritative. Another adjusts his beard in a way that suggests deep thinking, but is really just grooming. The oldest of the group clears his throat, loudly, theatrically, and prepares to speak. Everyone leans in, waiting for wisdom. He opens his mouth and then pauses, eyes narrowing at the sky like he's reading subtitles that aren't loading. After several seconds, he simply says, The crowd murmurs reverently, as though, is a groundbreaking insight. Another elder steps forward, puffing himself up like a wise old pigeon. This light, he declares confidently, is a sign of energy. Yes, the others nod, pleased. Energy is vague enough to sound accurate. A third elder, known for creating explanations so confusing they loop back around to profound, raises a hand. Perhaps, he says, the sun is warming the world. People nod again. They always nod when the elders speak, not because they understand, but because confusion feels safer in a group. You stand at the edge of the crowd, watching this ancient improv performance unfold. It's like observing grandparents trying to troubleshoot a Wi-Fi router, insisting they know exactly what they're doing, while clicking random buttons until something sparks. One elder draws a rough diagram in the dirt, a circle, some squiggly lines, 2 triangles, on what might be a goat. He gestures proudly toward it. As you can see, he says. No one can see. The drawing looks like a child's attempt at a map to buried disappointment. Another elder chimes in. The shadows are stretching because the sun is stretching. Stretching what? Someone asks carefully. Everything, he replies, as though that settles the matter. You shift your weight, trying not to laugh. Their confidence is admirable. Their logic is questionable. Their explanations are completely fabricated, but their delivery, flawless. Each elder speaks with the gravitas of a scholar defending a dissertation made entirely of smoke and wishes. At one point, an elder leans on his staff and whispers to another. Do you know what's happening? The other whispers back, absolutely not. Then they both straighten up and resume nodding wisely at nothing. The crowd begins offering their own theories. The sun is angry. The sun is bored. The sun is eating too much fire. The sun is shedding. The sun is going through changes. A woman suggests maybe this is a result of poor moral behavior, something vague and traditional, like people not cleaning their huts properly. An elder immediately adopts this as a theory and nods sagely. You notice that with every new explanation, the elders become more animated, pointing at the horizon, waving hands, making grand gestures like they're presenting at a conference on absolute guesswork. The villagers watch them as though these words are sacred scripture rather than the cosmic equivalent of, have you tried turning the sun off and back on again? Finally, one elder, the self-appointed leader, stands tall and raises both hands. The clearing falls silent. His beard glistens impressively in the light. He breathes in deeply, preparing to deliver the truth. The sun, he says, is doing something. The people gasp. The elders nod proudly. You resist the urge to applaud sarcastically. Because in all honesty, he's not wrong. He's also not helpful. Tiny particles drift in the air, shimmering as if someone turned the atmosphere into a glitter factory. It's beautiful. It's ominous. It's deeply unhelpful. You hold your breath for a moment, because that seems like the correct response when the sky is shedding sparkles like an overconfident stage performer. The particles swirl lazily around your head, catching the light in a way that would be breathtaking if it didn't feel like the prelude to an extinction event. You blink several times. The glitter does not go away. If anything, it multiplies. You slowly wave your hand through the air. The glitter swirls away from your fingers, sparkling in a soft arc. It's mesmerizing. In the same way, a tornado is mesmerizing when it's still far enough away that you can pretend it won't eventually ruin your afternoon. Someone nearby gasps. Another person immediately panics. A third enthusiastically tries to catch the glitter like snowflakes, which is probably a bad idea considering you don't know whether this stuff is cosmic soot or the atmospheric equivalent of warning confetti. The particles feel cool against your skin, cooling in a way that seems suspicious given the heat of the morning. It's like the air has decided to compensate. Here, it says, you're sizzling like a meat skewer. Have some sparkly cold dust. You don't trust the gesture. A gust of wind passes through the clearing and sends a concentrated wave of glitter drifting toward you. It settles on your shoulders, your hair, your arms, a soft, delicate dusting. You look like you've been decorated by a celestial toddler. Around the village, people stare upward, mouths open, eyes wide. A few cautiously reach out their tongues, as if testing whether this is an early form of cosmic flavor. You silently judge them, but only a little, because curiosity is free and consequences haven't arrived yet. Then someone shouts, "It's beautiful!" Another counters, "It's dangerous!" A third says, "I hope it's edible." You decide the glitter is absolutely not edible. The elders gather, of course. They stand beneath the shimmering haze, pretending they predicted this. One strokes his beard thoughtfully, glitter catching in the hairs like stars trapped in a net. Another clears his throat dramatically, his favorite hobby, and declares, "These are sky blessings." You're unconvinced. Sky blessings typically do not arrive during ultraviolet doom o'clock. The animals, as always, are the most honest. Birds refuse to fly through the glittery patches, flapping awkwardly around them like the air is made of invisible walls. A goat sniffs a drifting particle, sneezes violently, and walks away offended. A lizard lies flat on a rock, staring at the sky with the exhausted expression of someone who has seen too much. When you inhale, your lungs tingle, not in a painful way, more like you've accidentally breathed in mint vapor. Refreshing, yet vaguely threatening. You exhale slowly, watching tiny sparkles drift away on your breath, which is both beautiful and deeply concerning. The glitter thickens over time, forming soft ribbons of luminescence that twist through the air. Children dance through it, leaving shimmering trails behind, them like chaotic, sparkling comets. Adults don't join in, mostly because adults are busy worrying about whether inhaling cosmic glitter counts as a medical emergency. You step forward and lift your hand again. The particles gather around your fingers, drawn to your skin with the enthusiasm of tiny particles attending a family reunion. They cluster, glow faintly, then scatter as if startled by your existence. You can't blame them. Finally, the wind shifts. A slow, deliberate gust pushes the glitter upward, swirling into a spiraling column that rises into the sky like a glowing funnel. The village watches silently as it twists higher and higher until it disperses completely. The air returns to normal. Well, normal for today, which is still deeply abnormal. You brush the remaining sparkles off your arms, realizing they cling stubbornly, refusing to leave. A quiet thought settles in your mind. If the air is throwing glitter, the sky is definitely preparing Act 2. The sky shifts from blue to pale white, then to a shade best described as oops. You breathe slowly, pretending this is fine. Your anxiety, however, begins preparing a dramatic monologue. You tilt your head upward in the cautious, hesitant way someone might check whether a suspicious ceiling drip is about to become a waterfall. The sky now looks like it has been overexposed by a photographer with poor impulse control. It isn't glowing exactly, it's just white, flat, bright, and unsettlingly uniform, like the world forgot to load the rest of the textures. You shield your eyes with your hand, squinting at the horizon. The light seems to have lost its source. There's no obvious sun, no clear point of brightness, just one enormous glowing dome, like you're living inside a cosmic light bulb that's flickering on its last day of work. You inhale, slowly, calmly. You tell yourself to stay grounded, centered, peaceful, all the things wise people say when nature isn't threatening to become a strobe light. But your body is not convinced. Your shoulders creep upward. Your heartbeat taps out a quick, energetic rhythm. Da-da-da-da. Why are we still standing here? Around you, other villagers also attempt to play it cool. They fail spectacularly. One person whistles nonchalantly, but they're wildly off-key. Another leans against a tree, but the tree is shaking, which does not help the illusion of stability. A third sits down and crosses their legs like a serene monk, but you can see their foot vibrating at hummingbird speed. Someone mutters, "It's just a bright day." Another answers, "No day should be this bright." A third adds, "My shadow is gone, and I'd like it back." Indeed, your shadow has vanished again. Not stretched, not flickered, not misbehaved. It's simply absent, which is rude, honestly. Shadows shouldn't take vacation days without notice. The air feels different too quiet, too still. Even the breeze seems uncertain about whether it should exist in this level of brightness. When you breathe, the air feels strangely cool, despite the overwhelming light, as if it's apologizing for everything else. And then comes the worst part. The horizon begins to blur, not like heat haze, not like fog, more like the world is gently melting at the edges. Trees fade slightly, mountains soften into indistinct shapes. The brightness has swallowed all outlines, turning your surroundings into a watercolor painting that a toddler tried to fix. You blink rapidly, trying to bring things back into focus. Instead, the light pulses gently, a slow, rhythmic glow, like the sky is breathing. You feel your nerves immediately object to this development. Your anxiety begins rehearsing its speech. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great concern that You shut it down. Not today, inner drama queen." A few brave souls start discussing explanations. "Maybe it's dust," one says, or snow, another suggests. Someone else says, "It's the gods turning up the brightness because we're not appreciating the scenery." You appreciate nothing about this. The elders gather again, of course, forming a semicircle of concerned beards. One steps forward, holding his staff like a prop. "This," he declares, "is the sky cleansing itself. You don't even know what that means." Neither does he. Meanwhile, a child points upward and whispers, "It looks like when you close your eyes too hard and see the color white." Honestly, that's the most accurate description so far. The brightness grows gradually stronger, not aggressively but steadily, like it's trying to lull you into accepting it. Your eyes water, your arms prick with goosebumps. You clench your jaw tight enough to invent a new form of prehistoric dental care. Then, as if nature is toying with you, the sky flickers. Just once, a soft, brief flicker. You freeze. Everyone freezes. Even the insects freeze. The light steadies again, but now you feel certain the sky is preparing for something bigger. You inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and think the only reasonable thought left. This would be a perfect time for a nap or an evacuation, preferably both. You gather supplies, a handful of dried berries, a questionable water skin, and a stick you hope is symbolic. Congratulations, you have invented the world's worst emergency kit. You stare down at your collection with the quiet disappointment of someone evaluating a shopping cart filled entirely with impulse buys. The dried berries are already a little shriveled. The water skin smells faintly like fear. The stick Well, the stick has potential. Maybe it's magical. Maybe it's cursed. Maybe it's just a stick. Hard to say. Around you, the village is descending into a prehistoric version of organized chaos. People are rushing around gathering whatever they think might save them, which is funny because no one knows what they're preparing for. It's like watching a group of people pack for a vacation when none of them know the destination. One person hoards firewood, another stacks rocks, a third collects feathers for reasons you cannot begin to understand. You watch a man drag an entire log toward the center of camp. For protection, he announces proudly. From what? He doesn't specify. He can't specify, but the confidence is admirable. Nearby, a woman with excellent posture and no plan whatsoever ties several empty baskets together with twine. You ask her why. She replies, "In case we need them." You nod solemnly, as if this makes cosmic sense. The elders naturally gather again, not to provide guidance, but to look important while avoiding any actual responsibility. They mutter to one another about protocols and rituals and the old methods, which is impressive because such methods do not exist. One elder holds a clay bowl upside down and taps it thoughtfully, as if waiting for wisdom to fall out. You take a deep breath and decide you need more supplies. Anything, something. You grab a second stick. This one is slightly straighter, which you interpret as a good omen. You tuck it under your arm like a warrior preparing for battle, though in truth you mostly hope it makes you look productive. Let's talk about emergency shelters, because apparently those are now important too. Your friend attempts to build one using a single animal hide and 3 rocks. You watch as it collapses immediately. He tries again. It collapses again. By the 7th attempt, he is whispering threats directly at the hide. It's unclear who will win this standoff. The hide remains unimpressed. Meanwhile, a group of villagers gather to discuss the exact shape the sun currently resembles. This debate is the ancient equivalent of arguing about the weather forecast. "It's rounder today," someone says. "No," another counters. "It's angrier today." A third adds, "It looks like my mother-in-law," and no one questions this. You return to your emergency kit, hoping inspiration will strike. It does not. All you have is a bowl of berries, 2 sticks, and a water skin that has begun swelling ominously. You loosen the cap cautiously. A little puff of air escapes, like the water itself sighed. You decide not to drink it. Your neighbor passes by carrying an armful of stones. "These will help," he says. You ask how. He thinks for a moment. "By being heavy," he replies. Fair enough. Someone else walks past, dragging a woven mat behind them like a reluctant pet. "For shielding," they say, though from what? Heat? Light? Cosmic disappointment? Unclear. The sunlight continues to intensify, vibrating through the air in a slow hum. Everyone feels it. No one knows what to do about it, but doing something feels better than doing nothing. So you gather your berries, you grab your symbolic sticks, you sling your suspicious water skin over your shoulder, and as you stand there with the emergency kit equivalent of a toddler's toy collection, you realize one very important truth. You are not prepared, not even slightly. But to be fair, neither is anyone else. Far away, a line of light erupts, slicing across the sky like a divine lightsaber. The ground trembles. Your knees consider giving up their career. For a moment, you forget to breathe. The horizon glows in a straight surgical line. Too bright, too precise, too intentional. It doesn't rise like sunlight or flicker like lightning. It sweeps sideways, cutting across the sky with the confidence of a cosmic artist who owns far too many glowing brushes. The tremor moves under your feet, soft at first, then firmer, like the earth is shifting uncomfortably in its sleep. You instinctively bend your knees, which immediately regret having to be involved in your survival. They wobble so dramatically you briefly consider sitting down and just letting the universe handle whatever happens next. Villagers around you gasp, scream, or freeze like they've been caught by a celestial hall monitor. Someone shouts, "The sky is breaking." Someone else yells, "The gods are updating something." A third person, clearly panicking, shouts, "Where are my sandals?" The line of light expands slowly, brightening the edges of distant hills until they glow like molten gold. Shadows lengthen, twisting away from the flash as if trying to escape. You swallow hard, your mouth dry, your tongue suddenly a useless piece of furniture. The air smells faintly metallic, like hot stones, and the moment before a lightning strike. You take a step backward, then another, because stepping backward feels productive. The flash intensifies, still distant but massive. A soft rumble rolls over the land, deep and resonant, like the earth trying to clear its throat. A few pebbles jitter across the ground. A clay pot falls over and shatters, rudely adding to the ambience. Your heartbeat quickens. Your rational brain whispers, "Stay calm." Your irrational brain screams, "Run in circles." You compromise by standing still while sweating profusely. The elders gather once more, of course they do, and stare stare at the flash with the kind of expression someone might have while reading a very cryptic receipt. One elder raises a hand toward the glowing horizon and declares, "This is significant." You admire his ability to say nothing with such authority. Meanwhile, the hunters start forming theories. "It's fire," one says. "It's ice," another counters. "It's the sky shedding its skin," insists a third, who should not be allowed to contribute to discussions. The debate escalates into excited gestures and inaccurate drawings in the dirt. You ignore their chaos and watch instead as the flash splits into faint branching rays that ripple upward like glowing tree roots stretching through the sky. The sight is strangely beautiful if you forget the part where it might be lethal. The foremast. Brightness builds slowly, pulsing, as if the sun is breathing in through a cosmic straw. A gust of wind hits you. It's warm, too warm, and carries with it a soft vibration that buzzes through your bones. You exhale shakily. The light wavers again, sending a thin curtain of brilliance arcing across the horizon. Someone clutches your arm. "What do we do?" they ask, hoping you have wisdom. You do not. You consider every possible reaction. Run? Hide? Dig a hole and pretend you've always lived underground? Hug the nearest rock for emotional support. Before you can decide, the flash softens, not disappears, softens, like the sky is catching its breath. The ground stops trembling, the air stills, everyone stares. You stare. The horizon glows faintly, ominously, quietly, and then, in a moment of perfect prehistoric honesty, someone whispers what you're all thinking. "That was just the first one, wasn't it?" People scream, people pray. One guy insists he predicted this 2 weeks ago based on the fish's behavior. No one believes him. The screaming is panicked. The praying is frantic. The fish guy is smug in a way that makes you think he's been waiting his whole life for something dramatic enough to justify his strange hobby. But even he looks unsettled, glancing up at the glowing horizon with the expression of someone realizing they might actually be right for once, and deeply regretting it. You stand in the middle of the chaos, turning in slow circles as people rush past you, like you're the eye of a very confused storm. The air vibrates with tension, buzzing faintly like a bee trapped inside a ceramic pot. Every breath tastes hot and metallic, like you're inhaling coins. The brightness overhead pulses again, and the ground gives a soft rumble, as if nature is clearing its throat too loudly. A woman runs by, clutching a woven basket over her head as if that will shield her. Someone else kneels dramatically, arms raised like an actor in a bad play. A man holds a baby goat protectively, even though the goat is clearly trying to escape. The child nearest to you points at the sky and declares, "Mom said this would happen if we didn't behave." You suspect Mom was exaggerating, but today, who knows? You make the mistake of looking up again. The sky is now a blinding sheet of white and gold, swirling faintly, thick with light. It looks like someone put the sun into a blender. You squint so hard your eyelids feel like they're lifting weights. The heat strengthens, not unbearable, but insistent. It presses against your skin like a warning hand, placed gently but firmly on your shoulder. The air dries instantly, sucking moisture from your mouth until your tongue feels like it's made of bark. Some villagers sprint toward the river, convinced water is the answer to all problems. Others sprint away from the river, convinced this is exactly the sort of moment when water might spontaneously boil. You are in neither camp. You remain rooted, because every survival instinct you have is short-circuiting. A few people attempt communication with the sky. One man waves both arms and shouts, "We come in peace," which is a weird thing to say to a celestial event that can't hear him. Another tries chanting. Another starts singing. None of it helps. Someone tugs your arm. "This is definitely the gods," they whisper. Another tugs your other arm. "No, this is weather." A third grabs your shoulder. "It's both." You gently peel all the hands off you. Your personal space may not be a priority today, but it still exists. Then the wind shifts. It's not a normal wind. It rolls across the land like a slow, heavy breath. Warm, electric, buzzing. Your hair lifts. Your clothes cling awkwardly. Tiny sparks dance over your arms. Every tree in sight trembles in unison. A shiver crawls up your spine. Someone gasps, "It's beginning again." Another bellows, "Everyone panic in an orderly fashion." There is no orderly panic, just panic. The brightness intensifies, the sky swirling now in a way that suggests reality is reconsidering whether it wants to stay assembled. The white glow dims for a second, enough for you to see people's faces, wide-eyed, sweaty, terrified, and slightly offended that this is happening before breakfast. A booming crack echoes across the valley, not from the earth, not from the sky, but from everything. A vibration ripples through your chest. Every heart around you seems to skip a synchronized beat, and in that instant you see it in everyone's eyes, the truth settling like dust. This is not heat, this is not light, this is not weather. This is something entirely different, and unfortunately, it's just getting started. As the sun spits out glowing arcs of plasma, everyone starts speaking with confidence about cosmic currents. You nod along, hoping no one asks you to define anything. You keep your face neutral, calm but interested, engaged but not too engaged. The kind of expression people use during office meetings when they haven't understood anything since the first slide, but absolutely refuse to admit it. Around you, villagers gather in clumps, pointing at the sky like amateur astronomers who have never once looked up before today. The arcs of plasma are dramatic. They curl outward from the sun in shimmering loops, glowing with an intensity normally reserved for theatrical lighting or very passionate fire dancers. Every time one erupts, the sky brightens for a heartbeat, and people gasp like they're watching fireworks no one ordered. A hunter next to you crosses his arms. "Ah, yes," he says sagely. "Plasma streams." You nod as if you agree, even though the only plasma you've ever understood is the kind that lives in TVs thousands of years in the future. Another villager squints thoughtfully. "Those cosmic currents are unusually active today." You nod again. You are doing a lot of nodding, a dangerous amount. If someone so much as points a stick at you and asks how cosmic currents work, you will evaporate from embarrassment. The arcs ripple outward again, stretching across the sky like glowing ropes pulled taut by invisible hands. Heat pulses through the air in soft waves, washing across your face. Your skin tingles with a warmth that feels unnatural, like being hugged by a candle flame. You try to maintain your composure. "Yes, well, the currents are currenting." Someone nods, as though you've contributed something profound. Success. Meanwhile, the elders gather, looking determined to out-explain one another. One gestures grandly at the sun. "You see, the sky is releasing its inner fire." Another counters. "Wrong, the fire is releasing its outer sky." A third confidently asserts, "This is what happens when too much heat accumulates in the upper layers of things." You have never heard more confident nonsense in your life. A brave soul draws a diagram in the dirt to demonstrate his theory. It looks like a snake chasing a circle. Everyone leans in and murmurs approvingly, as if this clarifies anything. A woman tries to add to it and accidentally draws something resembling a duck. The group nods anyway, because now they are committed. The plasma arcs intensify. The largest one yet unfurls across the horizon, painting the sky with a luminous streak of molten gold. You feel the ground shiver beneath your feet, just faintly. Someone screams, someone else cheers, someone drops a basket. The hunter beside you strokes his chin. "Classic solar venting," he says, as though this is a well-documented phenomenon. You resist the urge to ask him to elaborate. You cannot afford follow-up questions. As the next plasma arc erupts, a huge spiraling fountain of light, people scatter into new discussion groups. Each group passionately invents their own physics. One insists the sun is shedding layers. Another thinks it's breathing. Someone swears the plasma is actually cosmic milk. You stop listening at that point. You glance up again. This time, the plasma bends inward slightly, curling like an angry wave preparing to crash into the atmosphere. Your stomach drops. Your eyebrows consider leaving your face. "Is it supposed to do that?" someone whispers. Every person in earshot pretends to know the answer. "It's normal. It's natural. It's expected. It's fine." None of them sound convincing. The light flickers. The air thickens. Another arc builds. Bigger, brighter, angrier. You swallow, trying desperately to look wise as the sky prepares its next cosmic outburst. And then, with the serene internal voice of someone profoundly out of their depth, you think, "I really hope no one asks me what plasma is." Your survival plan is simple. Crouch behind the largest rock you can find and hope the sun respects personal boundaries. It does not. You press yourself against the cool surface, trying to flatten your body as much as possible, which is difficult because your spine was not designed for rock embracing. Still, you shuffle, contort, and twist until your profile resembles an uncomfortable lizard clinging to a cliff. The rock is big enough to hide behind, but not big enough to inspire confidence. You pretend it is. Pretending is free. The sunlight rounds the corner like an over-friendly acquaintance who ignores hints. It spills across the dirt in creeping golden fingers, stretching toward your toes like it wants to shake hands. You tuck your legs in tighter. The rock catches some of the heat, but a stray beam sneaks past and taps your ankle with the warmth of a judgmental grandmother's hand. You grimace. That's too close. You adjust your position again, scooting sideways with all the stealth of a giant beetle dragging a regretful life behind it. From your hiding spot, you peek around the edge. The village is in various stages of coping. Several people are attempting their own rock-based strategies. None of them look confident. One man hides behind a rock that barely covers his knee. Another lies face down in the dirt beside a small shrub, convinced he is invisible. A few villagers are still out in the open, gesturing dramatically at the sky as if they can negotiate with solar flares. You admire their bravery. You also question their judgment. Meanwhile, your chosen rock radiates a soft warmth, absorbing heat like a determined sponge. You press your cheek against it anyway, because compared to the atmosphere, the rock is practically a refrigeration device. The sun intensifies again, casting elongated shadows that stretch across the ground, like dark, desperate hands reaching for escape. You watch as your own shadow slides forward, creeping beyond the rock's protective line. You yank it back reflexively, as if shadows can be reeled in like fishing lines. It doesn't help, but the motion comforts you. A soft rumble travels through the earth, just enough to make small stones jitter like anxious teeth. The air vibrates faintly. Your heartbeat joins the rhythm. For a moment, you consider upgrading to a larger rock, or perhaps a cave, or, failing that, a hole. Really, any indentation would do. You whisper reassurance to yourself. It's fine. The rock is strong. The sun is far away. Both statements feel optimistic. Behind you, someone crawls into view. It's your friend, clutching a small basket and wearing the expression of someone who just learned that the universe is capable of sarcasm. Room for one more? They ask. You shift grudgingly. There is barely enough room for both of you. You look like two crabs trying to hide behind a single seashell. Your friend peers around the edge. Do you think this will work? You inhale deeply. Emotionally, yes. Realistically, no. The light brightens again. Your rock casts crisp, trembling shadows across the dirt. The heat radiates around you, seeping in like steam, searching for weak points. Your friend whispers a small prayer. You whisper a slightly larger one. And then, as if to mock your rock-based confidence, a sunbeam refracts off something in the distance, perhaps metal or water, or cosmic spite, and shoots directly across the clearing, bypassing your rock entirely. It grazes your shoulder with a flash of warmth sharp enough to make you jerk back. Your friend gasps. It can go around the rock? You nod solemnly. The rock remains silent. It knew. And as you press your back against it again, trying to shrink into its meager shade, you accept the truth. The sun does not respect personal boundaries, and absolutely nothing, not even the biggest rock you could find, is going to convince it otherwise. Anything that counts as technology for your time period suddenly stops cooperating. Tools crackle, fires misbehave, even the ground seems irritated. At first you think you're imagining it. Maybe the heat is messing with your senses. Maybe stress is inventing new problems. But then your spear, which has been a loyal extension of your arm for years, gives a tiny snap of static electricity and bites your palm like a disgruntled cat. You drop it. It clatters to the ground in a dramatic, offended way. You stare at it. It stares back, or feels like it does. You reach down to pick it up again. The spear crackles a second time. You decide it can stay on the ground and think about its behavior. A few steps away, someone else is having an argument with a stone axe. Every time he tries to swing it, sparks jump from the handle to his wrist. He yelps on the fourth attempt and starts muttering something about cursed tools and spirits of metal, even though there is no metal involved. He blames metal anyway. The fire pit, which should be the most reliable piece of technology in the village, has entered its rebellious phase. Flames surge upward too high, then collapse into a smoky sulk, then sputter sideways like a confused flaming snake. One woman attempts to cook over it. The fire responds by leaping toward her food, then immediately dying as if offended by the seasoning. Even the earth feels different beneath your feet. The ground gives soft, irritated tremors, like it's grumbling about being stepped on during a solar emergency. Pebbles skitter, dust quivers. A wooden bowl lying on its side slowly rotates on its own, which is absolutely not something bowls are supposed to do. A child pokes the bowl. It rotates faster. The child runs. Let's talk about technology, prehistoric edition. Your era defines technology as anything that requires effort, friction, or mild suffering. Spears, flint, fire, baskets, rope, water skins, every single one of these things. Everyone has chosen today to unionize against you. A hunter attempts to strike flint against stone to make a spark. Instead, the flint sparks before it even hits the stone, flashing upward into his eyebrows. He sings the hair off the left one. He swears loudly. The elders pretend not to see. Someone else tries weaving a basket. The twine snaps, twists into a coil, and slaps them in the face. The basket, in progress, collapses like it has lost the will to exist. Two men attempt to haul a large log toward a shelter. The moment both grab it, a bright arc of static leaps between their hands. They drop the log, scream dramatically, and accuse each other of sabotage. Your friend tries lighting a torch. The torch ignites instantly, too instantly, flaring so brightly that he panics and blows it out. Then he tries again, and it refuses to light at all. The torch is clearly having mood swings. Even the river shows signs of misbehavior. When you scoop your hand into the water, tiny sparks jump between your fingers and the surface. The water ripples outward in perfect circles, as if annoyed. You decide washing can wait until tomorrow. Maybe the river will be in a better emotional place by then. The animals are no help either. A dog walks by holding a stick in its mouth and gets a small shock from the stick. It drops it, looks personally attacked, and then whines at you like you caused it. The chickens, if they can be called chickens, given they are essentially feathered chaos, refuse to sit still. Their feathers buzz faintly, sticking out in every direction like they've been scandalized by electricity. One pecks at the ground and sparks fly. The chicken walks away smugly, as though it meant to do that. You return to your own toolkit, which currently consists of a spear that resents you, a bowl that rotates ominously, a torch that behaves like a diva, and a water skin that hums when you touch it. You sit down on a log carefully and rest your forehead in your hands. Everything is crackling, everything is zapping, everything is overreacting. And as another static spark jumps from your elbow to the log, you think with deep, exhausted clarity, if even the rocks are done cooperating, you are officially out of upgrades. Water begins reflecting the cosmic light like liquid neon. You stare, mesmerized, unsure if it's beautiful or a sign you should reconsider your life choices. You crouch near the riverbank, squinting at the rippling, glowing surface. The water isn't just shimmering, it's radiating. Vibrant bands of pale gold and soft blue swirl across its surface, like someone mixed dawn and starlight in a giant blender. The river looks less like a river and more like a spilled potion from a careless, extremely dramatic wizard. You dip a fingertip toward it, hesitating an inch above the surface. The moment your finger reaches the edge of the glow, the water brightens, not in a threatening way, but in a "Hi, I noticed you" sort of way. You snatch your hand back like the river just tried to shake it. Behind you, a cluster of villagers gathers. They speak in hushed tones, as though raising their voices might anger the glowing water. One man eyes the river with suspicion, muttering, "Water shouldn't do that." Another says, "Maybe it's blessed." A third counters, "Blessed water doesn't buzz." And the river is buzzing, softly, quietly. The sound resembles a humming electrical wire, if electricity existed, or a chorus of very tiny bees. The buzzing vibrates across the surface in gentle waves, like the river is purring. A woman crouches beside you. "Should we drink it?" You stare at her in disbelief. "Absolutely not." She nods solemnly, as if you've given her profound wisdom. Further downstream, children poke sticks into the glowing water. Each stick lights up like a torch dipped in moonlight. The children squeal with delight. Their parents scream with horror. A chaotic tug-of-war ensues. Children trying to dunk the sticks deeper. Adults trying to confiscate the sticks. The river cheering none of them on. You watch as one brave child splashes the surface. The droplets scatter like glowing fireflies, rising into the air for a brief, magical moment before fading away. The crowd gasps, a unified sound of awe, fear, and mild parental regret. You step closer and peer into the depths. Normally, the river is murky, hiding secrets beneath its rippling skin. Today, the water is crystal clear, clearer than clear. You can see straight to the bottom. Rocks, pebbles, fish, all illuminated in the cosmic glow. A fish swims by, trailing a faint luminescent outline. It looks offended by its own visibility. Another fish darts upward, its scales reflecting the cosmic light like a tiny swimming cloud. It pauses to glare at you as if to say, "Fix this." You cannot. A hunter tosses a flat stone into the water. It skips once, twice. On the third bounce, the stone emits a burst of light like a tiny explosion of stardust. The villagers shriek. The hunter pretends he meant to do that. The elders finally arrive, robes swaying dramatically in the shimmering air. They inspect the river with the intense seriousness of professional wine tasters. One dips his hand close to the water, then pulls back quickly. "It is active," he declares. Everyone nods. Active is vague enough to be comforting. Another elder leans forward thoughtfully. "This could be a good sign," he says. A younger villager snorts. "Could it?" The elder hesitates. "Well, it could be a sign." The villagers begin tossing theories into the air like they're competing in a gossip tournament. "It's skylight trapped in water." "It's the spirits." It's the sun melting. It's fish revenge. You tune them out, watching as the water pulses again, a soft, rhythmic glow that brightens and dims like the river has developed a heartbeat. You swallow, slowly, carefully, because deep down, beneath all the shimmering beauty and the cosmic glow and the dazzling reflections, you realize something unsettling. The river shouldn't glow. Glowing water is never good news, and whatever is causing it is definitely getting closer. You whisper to yourself, "You're fine. You're okay. The sun just hates you personally today." It somehow works. You stand there, hands trembling slightly, sweating in places you didn't know could sweat, staring at a sky that looks like it's preparing for its theatrical debut in Apocalypse the Musical. But the pep talk helps, a little, like a bandage on a sinking canoe, not useful but comforting. You inhale deeply, letting the hot metallic air fill your lungs. Then you exhale, trying to force your nerves to leave with the breath. They do not. They cling to your insides like stubborn barnacles. So you try again. "You're fine," you whisper. "You're built for this," you add, even though you absolutely are not. "This is just sunlight, very angry sunlight." You close your eyes and imagine something peaceful, flowing water, soft breezes, anything that isn't bright enough to burn your eyebrows off. But the ground rumbles again, subtle but undeniable, and your peaceful mental image dissolves like wet parchment. Around you, more people are giving themselves pep talks. And honestly, it's adorable. A hunter stands with his hands on his hips, muttering, "You've lived through winters. You can live through whatever this is." His voice cracks on the last part, but the effort counts. A woman nearby paces rapidly back and forth, shaking her hands in the air. "It's fine, it's fine, it's fine," she whispers rapidly, like she's trying to hypnotize herself. Her hair frizzes upward with every step, static clinging to her head, like a halo of bad decisions. Someone sits cross-legged on the ground, rocking slightly. "This is normal," he chants. "This is normal. Sky things happen." You consider telling him this is not in fact normal, but decide against it. He's doing his best. One of the elders is attempting a deep breathing exercise. He inhales loudly, inflates like a balloon, holds the breath too long, then wheezes dramatically on the exhale. He nods, pleased with himself, as though he has achieved enlightenment through respiratory panic. You take another deep breath, straighten your spine, and tell yourself, you are calm. You are centered. You are absolutely not going to scream. You nearly scream anyway when another soft flash blooms across the horizon. It's small compared to the earlier ones, just a little pulse, but your brain interprets it as a sign you should reconsider every choice you've ever made. You hold your breath, then force yourself to breathe again, then whisper another line of encouragement. At least you're not alone in this mess. It helps more than the first one. Across the clearing, two friends are giving each other pep talks. One pats the other's shoulder. "You're strong," he says. "You're brave." "I'm sweating," the other replies. "That's basically bravery." "Leaving your body," the first insists. Someone else tries to give their goat a pep talk. The goat wants none of it and walks away. You decide to upgrade your pep talk, adding more confidence than you realistically possess. "You're adaptable," you whisper. "You've survived snakes, storms, and that one terrible winter. You can survive a glowing sky." The sky responds with another shimmer of plasma arcs. You whisper more quietly, probably. A breeze passes, hot and strange, brushing your face like a concerned hand. You close your eyes, breathe slowly, and continue pep-talking your way through existence. You are resilient. You are capable. You have a rock and some berries and questionable charisma. You'll be fine. Your heartbeat steadies a little, your shoulders loosen, your breathing slows, you open your eyes, the world is still glowing, everything is still buzzing, the sky still looks like it's preparing a dramatic monologue of its own, but you feel 2% calmer, maybe 3%, and in a situation like this, that counts as a miracle. The group splits immediately, the runners, the hiders, and the "if we ignore it, maybe it'll go away" crowd. You naturally join all three at once. You take 3 steps as a runner, crouch like a hider, then straighten your back, and casually examine a leaf as if nothing is wrong. It is a chaotic performance, but in fairness, the entire world is doing its best impression of chaos right now. The light overhead pulses again, soft, bright, unsettling. The air hums like a giant tuning fork. You pivot back and forth between survival strategies like someone choosing between 3 equally bad flavors of danger. To your left, the runners sprint wildly in no particular direction. They zigzag across the clearing, kicking up dust clouds that immediately sparkle in the cosmic light. One person runs in a perfect circle, which is impressive but useless. Another runs straight into a tree, rebounds, and keeps going as though the tree personally offended him. To your right, the hiders scuttle behind anything large enough to block at least 1 square inch of sunlight. Rocks, baskets, logs, each other. One man dives behind a goat. The goat was not consulted and leaves immediately, ruining his plan. Another woman hides behind a clay pot just big enough to protect her forehead. She crouches proudly, convinced this will save her. And then, of course, there is the pretend nothing is happening group. This group sits calmly on the ground, legs crossed, hands folded, eyes intentionally cast downward, as if the glowing, trembling sky will politely excuse them for opting out. One man plucks blades of grass in a meditative rhythm. Another whistles loudly and off-key. A third stares at a beetle with exaggerated fascination, as though studying it for a doctoral thesis. You admire their dedication. You also recognize denial when you see it. You try joining them for a moment. You sit, you inhale, slowly, you exhale slowly. You attempt to radiate serenity. Then the sky flickers again, brighter this time. A curtain of light rolling overhead, and your serenity shatters like an overcooked clay bowl. You spring to your feet and sprint 4 paces in a direction that feels meaningful but isn't. Your inner survival instincts begin shouting contradictory instructions. Run! No, hide! No, act casual! No, faster! You compromise by stumbling toward a large rock, crouching behind it, then standing up again because it's too hot, then pretending to walk casually because someone is watching. All 3 strategies at once. You are a masterpiece of indecision. Meanwhile, the runners begin shouting tips to each other. Run toward the trees! No! Run away from the trees! Follow me! Don't follow him! The confusion is an art form. The hiders are quietly losing faith. Every shadow shifts unpredictably. Every rock grows warm. Every hiding spot feels more symbolic than helpful. One woman hisses, "This is a terrible idea," as she tries to fit her entire body behind a broom. And the denial crowd, they are breaking. Slowly, one by one, a man whose entire coping plan was to whistle stops mid-note when another plasma arc curls across the sky. A woman who pretended to study the dirt stands abruptly and announces, "I've decided this is too much dirt." A third person opens one eye, sees the world glowing like molten sugar, and shuts it again with the shakiness of someone rapidly reconsidering their philosophy. You inhale sharply as the ground gives another soft rumble, not dangerous but deeply persuasive. You crouch, stand, walk, sprint, freeze. You are the living embodiment of a startled squirrel. Someone shouts from the distance, "What are we doing?" Another responds, "Everything and nothing." You glance at the sky, glowing brighter by the second. You glance at the ground, trembling softly beneath your feet. You glance at your fellow humans, panicking in their own charming, chaotic ways. And with perfect, exhausted clarity, you realize no matter which strategy you choose, run, hide, or pretend, a blinding flash whips across the atmosphere. For a moment, everything glows. Even your thoughts feel overexposed. The world freezes, absolutely still, as if someone hit pause on reality. The trees stop swaying, the dust stops drifting. Your lungs stop halfway through an inhale, suspended like they're afraid of being too loud. The flash is huge, not like lightning or fire or anything familiar. It's a single brilliant pulse that blankets the entire sky in pure white. So bright it feels like your brain is squinting. You blink rapidly, but it doesn't help. The brightness slips past your eyelids, bleaching your vision from the inside out. Every thought in your head becomes a white rectangle. You experience the cognitive equivalent of a blank page. For a heartbeat, there is no up, no down, no horizon, just a vast, glowing dome that has decided to remove all contrast from your life. You swirl in it, weightless and confused, like a moth who accidentally flew into heaven's flashlight. Then slowly, shapes begin returning, faint at first, soft outlines, a tree, a rock, a person frantically waving their arms like they're trying to flag down help from a distant star. The world fades back in with the sluggish reluctance of someone waking up from a nap they did not plan. Around you, the villagers stumble and squint, their faces twisted into identical "please make it stop" expressions. A man crouches low to the ground, blinking furiously. A woman holds her hands in front of her eyes, opening one finger crack at a time like she's watching a horror scene through a curtain. You rub your face. You're pretty sure your eyebrows just evaporated. The heat hits next. A warm burst of air rolls across the land, not scorching but insistent, like a giant oven exhaling. Your skin prickles. Your hair lifts. The ground beneath your feet hums with leftover energy, buzzing faintly like an annoyed beehive. Someone whispers, "Did we die?" Someone else answers, "If we did, this is a terrible afterlife." A third person mutters, "I can still smell goats, so I think we're alive." You take a hesitant step forward, your shadow snaps back into existence beneath you, dark and crisp, like it was reinstalled after a brief system reboot. It flickers once, stabilizes, and behaves. The sun resumes its position in the sky, noticeably angrier, noticeably brighter, like a light bulb that has been twisted too tightly. The elders gather again, because the elders always gather, and stare at the sky with the dazed, blinking confusion of people who desperately want to pretend they understand. One clears his throat and says, "This is illumination." Another nods solemnly. A revelation. A third adds, "A big one." No one is comforted. You look around. Every object in sight has a faint glow clinging to its edges, as though the flash tattooed brightness onto the world. The river gleams, the rocks sparkle, even the dirt glints like it was dusted with celestial powdered sugar. You lift your hand and examine your fingers. They shimmer faintly before the glow fades. You shake them out like you've touched a hot stove. A child nearby laughs, delighted by the spectacle. An adult immediately grabs him. "Don't enjoy it," she scolds. "We don't know what it is." The child blinks slowly. It's pretty. He is not wrong. You step toward the clearing's center, each footfall sending a soft crunch through the hyper-bright dust. The sky begins to dim, slightly, reluctantly, like a lamp being turned down from interrogation mode to barely tolerable. People breathe again. Animals emerge from hiding, blinking and wide-eyed. A goat steps out from behind a hut, looks up at the sky, and makes a sound that perfectly translates to "absolutely not." The brightness softens into a simmer, leaving behind a shimmering haze that blankets the land. And you stand there, blinking the last of the flash from your mind, thinking, if this is what the sky looks like on its bad days, you are deeply, profoundly unprepared for what comes next. Sound disappears, then returns rudely. Your hearing flickers like someone toggling the audio settings of reality. At first there is silence, absolute, unnatural silence, not the gentle quiet of nightfall or the soft hush of distant wind. This is vacuum silence, thick, heavy, almost physical. Your ears feel stuffed with invisible wool. Your heartbeat thumps sluggishly against the stillness, and even that feels muffled, like someone put your pulse under a blanket. You open your mouth. No sound comes out. You try again. Still nothing. You clap your hands gently. Silence. The world has pressed mute, and you have no idea where the button is. The villagers around you panic in complete silence, which would be funny if it weren't also terrifying. Their mouths open and close in noiseless screams, arms flailing dramatically. It looks like everyone is acting out a silent play entitled How Not to Cope with Cosmic Events. A man next to you stomps his foot with force. You see the ground vibrate beneath the impact, but you hear nothing. No crunch, no thud, no grunt of frustration, just visual chaos in a soundless world. You tap your own ears, as if encouraging them to reboot. Nothing. You tap harder. Still nothing. You resist the urge to panic. Barely. Then, like a slap from the universe, sound returns in one explosive burst. Crack. Shish, pop. It's as though all the missing audio has decided to return at once, overlapping in a dissonant cosmic orchestra. You flinch violently. Your knees buckle. Someone nearby shrieks, a shriek that arrives a half-second too late, adding to the sensory confusion. Your ears ring immediately, loudly, relentlessly. A high-pitched "ee-ay" drills through your skull like an angry insect with a megaphone. You grab your head instinctively, unsure whether you're holding your temples together or shielding them from escaping. For a brief, ridiculous moment, you wonder if this is what your ancestors will describe as hearing the sun. The ringing does not fade quickly. It lingers, pulses, vibrates. Each pulse makes you blink. Inside your skull, your brain feels like it's trying to stand up and leave. Around you, everyone else is suffering the same auditory betrayal. One man yells, "What?" far too loudly because he can't tell how loud he's speaking. Another woman claps her hands over her ears and staggers in circles. A child begins laughing hysterically because their voice sounds like it's echoing from inside a metal jar. The goats complain loudly, very loudly. Every bleat is a thunderclap. If your ears weren't damaged before, they are now. Your friend stumbles up to you, eyes watering. "Can you hear me?" they shout at a volume usually reserved for calling someone across a canyon. You nod, wincing. "Yes, stop yelling," they yell. "Okay," and walk away, still shouting into the void. Gradually, the world begins to normalize, slightly. Footsteps become footsteps again rather than explosions. Voices soften from battle cries to regular speech. The ringing fades from a scream to a whisper to an annoying background whine. Your hearing stabilizes mostly. Then it flickers again, just briefly, like the universe is flipping the mute switch out of spite. You freeze. Everyone freezes. A collective moment of primal, exhausted dread. But the sound returns quickly this time, settling into something resembling functional reality. You take a deep breath, still hearing a faint whine like a mosquito trapped inside your skull. It's unpleasant, sure, but survivable. Your ears ring, your head throbs, your nerves fray like old rope. But as the noise stabilizes and the world reclaims its sound, you think with weary clarity, if your hearing can survive that, you might just survive whatever comes next. People gather, dazed, trying to figure out what to do. Someone suggests rebuilding the grain shed. Someone else suggests taking a nap. You choose the nap. To be fair, no one has ever written a guidebook titled "So the Sun Just Tried to Delete You, Now What?" So, reconstruction efforts are scattered. You sit on a warm patch of earth, blinking slowly, your body running on leftover adrenaline and the faint hope that life might return to normal if you simply refuse to stand up. Around you, everyone wanders like sleepwalkers who woke up halfway through an apocalypse. The grain shed in question leans sadly to one side, half melted in the world's most aggressive sunrise. A few beams look warped, as if the wood itself experienced existential dread. A man kicks one of the posts experimentally. It promptly collapses. He shrugs like he expected that. Another villager is picking up scorched baskets and placing them neatly in a pile, a useless but very organized pile. A woman holds a charred cooking pot in her hands and stares at it like it betrayed her. Someone else chases a goat that somehow escaped its pen during the chaos and now refuses to participate in society. You lie back fully, letting the heat-soaked soil cradle you. Rebuilding can wait, your brain whispers. You almost died. You deserve horizontal time. Your eyelids droop instantly, but the villagers continue their brainstorming session. Should we fix the roofs first? No, the fences. No. Our tools need replacing. What if it happens again? Don't say that. Every suggestion is met with disagreement. Every disagreement is met with louder disagreement. This continues until everyone is shouting the same nonsense in different tones. One man suggests creating a sun watch team. Another proposes digging holes. A third insists the sun only tantrums once every 1,000 lifetimes, and therefore this is the perfect moment to relax. He stretches, lies down next to you, and falls asleep instantly. You respect that. You attempt to remain awake long enough to seem helpful. You fail. Your eyes close halfway, then 3/4, then fully. Your breathing slows. The villagers' voices blend into a soothing hum, like bees arguing in the distance. But the world isn't finished demanding your attention. Hey! Someone shouts directly over you. You jolt awake. A shadow looms above you. Your friend, who looks far too awake for someone who nearly witnessed the planet's short circuit. We're making a plan. Good luck, you mumble, rolling onto your side. He nudges your shoulder. We need your input. No, you need sleep, you mutter. I need more sleep. He sighs dramatically and walks away, muttering to himself about unhelpful people. You're fine with being unhelpful right now. Being helpful was yesterday's job. Today's job is survival through selective unconsciousness. The planning committee begins drawing symbols in the dirt again. Lines, circles, arrows, squiggles that mean absolutely nothing. They argue about whether to plant more crops or move further inland or start reinforcing homes using larger rocks. Someone suggests building underground shelters, and someone immediately else says, that sounds like too much bending. Eventually, the elders arrive. They examine the destruction, stroke their beards, and announce, we must rebuild what was lost. Everyone nods. This sounds wise. It also sounds like nothing. You sit up slightly and scan the village. A few huts still stand, though crookedly. Tools lie scattered like they tried to flee. The air carries the faint scent of burned grass and cosmic static. It feels like the world sighed heavily and everything shifted an inch to the left. Rebuilding will happen, gradually, awkwardly, incorrectly, but inevitably. Humans do that, even prehistoric ones. They stack rocks. They fix roofs, they complain, they survive. You exhale, long and slow, letting your body melt back into the warm ground. Someone asks, should we start now? A chorus answers, maybe after a rest. You smile sleepily. Finally, common sense. Night falls strangely. The stars seem rearranged. The silence is heavier than usual, like the world is holding its breath. You stare upward, trying to map the sky you've known your whole life. But the constellations are wrong, not dramatically wrong, just nudged, shifted, as if someone took the familiar pattern of the heavens and rotated it one click to the left without asking permission. The stars glimmer with a soft, uneasy brightness, as though they too are recovering from whatever the sun just did. The air is cool, unexpectedly cool, after the blistering chaos of the day. It clings to your skin in a way that feels almost foreign, like the atmosphere is trying out a new personality. You pull your fur wrap tighter around your shoulders, though you aren't sure if it's the cold or the feeling of cosmic uncertainty creeping in. Around you, the village has settled into an anxious quiet. People move slowly, stepping carefully, as if sound itself might shatter something fragile. Fires burn low, giving off shaky, flickering light that dances in long shadows across the ground. Every flame seems to doubt itself, sputtering as though asking, "Are we supposed to be on right now?" Your friend sits beside you, hugging their knees. "The stars look weird," they whisper. You nod. Whispering feels appropriate tonight. Normal volume feels disrespectful. A group of villagers gathers near the center of camp, staring upward, pointing occasionally with confusion or disbelief. One insists the stars have multiplied. Another claims some have vanished. A third says confidently, "They've always been like that," which is bold, considering he spends every night asleep by sundown. You lie back on the cool earth, letting the rising night breeze drift over your face. It smells different, cleaner, thinner, almost as if the atmosphere got scrubbed. A faint metallic tinge lingers in the air, a reminder that nature is still rearranging itself behind the scenes. For a moment, everything is peaceful. Then someone calls out, "What is that?" Everyone jumps. Even the stars seem to quiver. You sit up and squint toward the horizon. A low, soft glow pulses there. Faint, rhythmic, almost like the heartbeat of the landscape. Not dangerous, not comforting, just there, lingering like the memory of the flash. "It's fine," someone says nervously. Probably fine. People begin laying down their sleeping mats, though no one actually lies down yet. Everyone keeps glancing at the sky, as if it might glitch again. A few children cling to their parents, wide-eyed, whispering questions no adult dares answer. The elders gather in a solemn semicircle, staring into the darkness with deep, dramatic concern. One clears his throat. "Tonight," he says, "the world begins anew." No one knows what that means, not even him, but it sounds poetic enough to be comforting. As the night deepens, the silence grows heavier, not threatening but thick, weighted with cosmic residue. You can hear your own breath, your own heartbeat, the tiny rustles of insects testing the air as if checking whether it's safe to resume being insects. You stretch out again, staring at the new, unfamiliar map of the universe overhead. The constellations may be shifted, but they're still shining, still there, still trying. You breathe a little easier. Far off, an owl hoots. The sound is strange tonight, too loud, too echoing. But it's sound, ordinary sound. That alone feels heroic. One by one, people finally begin to lie down. Murmured conversations fade, fires dim to embers. The world, exhausted, exhales slowly. You close your eyes, letting the strange new night settle over you like a blanket woven from soft uncertainty and leftover starlight. And just before sleep takes you, you think, if this is the reboot version of Earth, you really hope tomorrow comes with a patch update. The next morning, life resumes, sort of. The world looks slightly scorched, slightly rearranged, slightly confused, much like you, but you survived, somehow. You open your eyes slowly, cautiously, unsure what version of reality you're about to encounter. For a few moments, everything is blurry, soft-edged, washed in pale morning light. You lie still, taking inventory of your body parts like an exhausted accountant. Toes. Yes, fingers. Present. Eyebrows. Mostly. Your neck cracks when you turn, which feels like a victory. The air carries a strange scent, a blend of damp earth, singed grass, and the faintest hint of metal. It smells like the world tried something experimental last night and hasn't fully aired out the results. You take a deep breath anyway, because surviving cosmic chaos deserves at least one deep, self-satisfied inhale. Around you, the village is stirring. People emerge slowly from huts, stretching like they've aged 10 years overnight. A woman steps outside, looks at the sky, and mutters, "Not again." Someone else yawns loudly, and then immediately winces, as if afraid the sky might take it personally. The ground beneath you feels subtly different, firmer in some places, softer in others, like the earth rearranged its furniture while you slept. A few stones have shifted. A small hill looks slightly closer. A tree leans in a direction it definitely wasn't leaning yesterday. You blink at it, suspicious. You sit up and rub your face with both hands, partly to wake yourself and partly to confirm you still exist. Your skin is warm, but not painfully so. Your hair, still slightly charged from yesterday's static fiasco, rises at odd angles like it's trying to check the weather before you do. A goat trots past you, looks you up and down, bleats judgmentally, and continues on its way. You sigh. Even the livestock remember. The villagers begin assessing the damage. One man picks up a charred stick, studies it thoughtfully, and declares, "This was important." No one knows what it was. Another woman examines the grain shed, or what's left of it, and simply says, "We'll call that a loss." A child pokes the ground where the flash hit hardest. The dirt glows faintly for half a second. The adult adults collectively decide not to acknowledge that. Someone claps their hands together. All right, new day, new world, new everything. Their enthusiasm does not catch on. Instead, people begin doing what humans have always done in confusing situations. They tidy things, they stack rocks, they sweep dirt into new configurations, they move baskets from one random spot to another, slightly less random spot. It's not actually helpful, but it feels productive. You stand, stretch, and wobble a little as your legs remember gravity. The sun is rising normally today. A small miracle. It's still brighter than it should be, still a bit too sharp. But at least it isn't stabbing the horizon with cosmic plasma arcs. You wave politely at it anyway, just in case. A friend approaches you with messy hair and sleep-puffed eyes. So, we lived, they say. We did, you reply. Should we do something about all this? They gesture at the world. You squint around. Eventually, the two of you stand there in companionable silence, watching villagers poke at debris, argue about whose hut moved the farthest, and check the sky nervously every 30 seconds. A few brave souls begin making breakfast. Someone refuses to rebuild the fire pit and instead just lights a small flame in a clay bowl. It flickers weakly, like even the fire is tired. You take another deep breath. The air is surprisingly calm now, as if the world itself is relieved to have survived its own meltdown. And as the quiet morning settles around you, warming your skin and softening yesterday's terror, you think, with drowsy gratitude, the sun may have thrown a tantrum, but at least it didn't follow up with an encore. So tonight, as the glow of that ancient solar flash fades into memory, take a moment to breathe. You survived a cosmic tantrum, in spirit at least. And honestly, that's more than most prehistoric humans could say. You endured buzzing skies, glowing rivers, suspicious goats, and a sun that behaved like it just discovered energy drinks. And yet here you are, tucked comfortably in a warm bed, not hiding behind a rock, or wondering whether your shadow is trying to leave you. It's funny, isn't it? For most of human history, people woke up not knowing whether the sky was going to hiss, crackle, or wipe everything clean. They lived through volcanic winters, icy ages, thunderstorms that could shatter trees, and cosmic events so strange they didn't even have vocabulary for them. And still, somehow, they laughed, cooked dinner, built homes, raised families, and kept going. Humanity is stubborn like that. So maybe whisper a quiet thank you to the people who lived before you, the ones who held on through fire and ice and cosmic resets, through days when the sun misbehaved and nights when the world felt too dark. Their resilience is the reason you're here, in a room with blankets, electricity, and a fan that doesn't suddenly explode from plasma interference. And even though life today has its own chaos, deadlines, notifications, laundry that regenerates like a mythological beast, it's still a gentler world than the one lit by ancient flares. You have hot water, you have lights, you have a ceiling that will not collapse because the atmosphere is feeling dramatic. History is strange, a little terrifying, and often ridiculous, but it's also proof that humans endure, and you will too. Now close your eyes. Let the world soften, let your breath slow, and drift towards sleep, safe from every solar storm.